You did not click on this by accident, and deep down you already know that. There is a reason this person keeps returning to your mind when the room gets quiet. There is a reason your heart reacts before your logic can explain anything. Maybe you tried to dismiss it. Maybe you told yourself it was only hope, only loneliness, only a wish that grew too strong. But what if that is not true at all? What if the feeling you cannot fully name is real, and the sign you have been waiting for has been in front of you the whole time? Stay with me, because this is where everything starts to make sense. In the next few minutes, you are going to see this connection from a new angle. Not through fantasy, not through blind hope, but through the quiet signs that real love leaves behind when words are missing and distance gets confusing. If this message feels like it found you at the perfect time, that is because it did. And the deeper you listen, the more clearly you may realize that the heart has known the truth long before the mind was ready to admit it. What you feel is not random. It is not empty. And before this ends, you may understand why this person's love has been real in ways you almost talked yourself out of believing. There are moments in life when doubt grows louder than truth. You feel something strong, something steady, something almost impossible to explain, and then one quiet day your mind begins to question everything. You start wondering if you invented the whole thing. You replay their silence. You examine their distance. You ask yourself whether your heart saw something that was never really there, but real connections often feel most confusing right before they become clear. That is the first thing you need to remember. Love that touches the deeper parts of you will rarely arrive in a neat, easy, simple form. It will shake old fears awake. It will touch wounds you thought were closed. It will make you question what love means, what safety means, and whether you are truly ready to receive something bigger than what you knew before. That is why this bond has felt so powerful. It did not come into your life just to give you butterflies and pretty words. It came to move something in you. It came to wake you up. If this is speaking directly to your situation, keep listening, because the silence that confused you may not be proof of fading love at all. It may be part of the exact process that reveals how real it is. Sometimes the strongest feeling does not arrive with loud promises. Sometimes it arrives as a deep recognition your soul feels before your mind has any way to understand it. You have probably felt this in private moments. Times when you tried to pull away, distract yourself, close the door, or convince yourself that it would be easier to stop caring. Yet something inside you kept returning to the same quiet truth. Not a desperate truth, not a forced truth, a steady one. A feeling that this person matters in a way you cannot explain with simple logic. That pull is important. It does not always mean every fantasy is correct, and it does not mean every silence should be romanticized. But it does mean you should not ignore what your deeper self keeps recognizing. There is a difference between anxious attachment and inner knowing. One is frantic, loud, and exhausting. The other stays with you even after the panic settles down. One makes you chase proof every hour. The other gives you moments of calm in the middle of the storm. This is where many people get confused. They think love must always feel easy if it is real. But sometimes real love first arrives as recognition, and recognition can be intense because it touches the parts of you that are not used to being seen. It stirs old fears, it brings old pain to the surface, it asks you to feel more honestly than before. And when that happens, your first reaction may not be peace. It may be doubt, it may be self-protection. It may be the urge to run from what feels too deep to control. That is why the battle inside you has been so exhausting. One part of you already knows. Another part keeps asking for proof. One part feels the bond in silence, in energy, in the strange way your thoughts keep circling back with meaning. Another part says, "Be careful, do not trust this, protect yourself before you get hurt." This is the old conflict between fear and intuition. Fear is fast. Fear is urgent. Fear demands answers right now. It tells you that if they are quiet, they do not care. If they are distant, the feeling must be gone. If they do not say everything clearly, then maybe none of it is real. Intuition does not sound like that. Intuition is quieter. It does not scream. It does not beg. It simply stays. Even when your thoughts get messy, it remains as a soft knowing beneath the noise. That soft knowing is what has kept bringing you back to this connection. It is what has made it so hard to fully dismiss. And that matters. Because when love is real, the deepest sign is not always dramatic action in the beginning. Sometimes the deepest sign is the way your spirit keeps recognizing something true, even while your fear tries to shut it down. If this is making sense, stay with me until the end, because the next part explains why their silence may be telling a very different story than the one your fear keeps repeating. The truth is that this person may feel more than they know how to manage. That happens more often than people admit. When a connection touches someone deeply, it does not always make them move closer right away. Sometimes it makes them pause. Sometimes it makes them quiet. Sometimes it makes them step back because what they feel is bigger than what they know how to hold. People like to imagine that real love always looks confident from the start, but deep feelings can frighten a person just as much as they can awaken them. If this person sees you in a way that reaches beyond surface attraction, then your presence may stir things in them that they have spent years trying not to face. Old fears of not being enough, old wounds of rejection, old habits of staying in control. That is why distance is not always the same as indifference. Sometimes distance is what happens when someone feels too much and does not yet know how to stand still inside it. Their heart may move toward you while their fear pulls them back. Their care may be real even while their actions look uncertain. That does not mean you should excuse everything or accept confusion forever. It means you should read the energy more carefully. A person who feels nothing does not get shaken. A person who feels nothing does not act strange in the face of depth. Real feelings often show themselves first as inner conflict, and inner conflict often creates silence before it creates clarity. You may have seen small signs that were easy to brush aside at first. A look that lasted a second too long. A message that sounded casual but carried a softness underneath it. A strange tension in the air when you were near each other, like something unspoken was moving between you. Maybe they tried to act normal, but their eyes gave them away. Maybe they went quiet in moments when others would have spoken easily. Maybe the silence between you felt full instead of empty, as if something important was happening without needing language. These details matter more than people think. Real love is not always loud at the start. It often hides in the spaces where performance falls away, in the lingering attention, in the careful tone, in the way someone seems more affected by your presence than they want to admit. Watch the small things. People can control many words, but they cannot always control their energy. They cannot always control how their face softens around someone who matters. They cannot always control the pull that keeps bringing their attention back. And if this person's feelings are real, you have likely sensed that they become different around you in subtle ways. Not perfectly open, not fully relaxed, but touched, moved, changed. Those shifts are not nothing. They are often the earliest signs that the heart has already chosen before the mouth has found the courage to say it. Another sign is the way this connection keeps finding you through life itself. You think of them, and then something appears that feels too exact to ignore. A song, a phrase, a place, a sudden memory, a repeating number. Their name showing up when you are not even searching. These moments can seem small, but when they happen again and again, they begin to feel like life is underlining something for you. Many people dismiss this too quickly because the mind wants hard proof. But love does not always reveal itself through contracts and perfect timing. Sometimes it reveals itself through synchronicity, through patterns, through strange reminders that appear when your heart needs confirmation. And then there are the emotional waves, the moments when you suddenly feel warmth, calm, sadness, or heaviness without any obvious reason, only to later realize they crossed your mind at the exact same time. That kind of resonance is difficult to explain in plain words, but people who have lived it know how real it feels. It is as if the connection has its own current, its own rhythm, its own quiet language. This does not mean every coincidence is sacred, and it does not mean you should lose yourself in signs. But it does mean that when a bond is deep, energy often speaks before circumstances catch up. That is why you should stop calling every meaningful pattern your imagination. Some things repeat because they are trying to get your attention. Some things return because the bond itself is alive. Dreams can become part of this too. Not every dream means something deep, but some dreams leave a different kind of mark. You wake up feeling like you were truly with them. The emotion lingers. The conversation feels vivid. The moment carries weight that does not fade after breakfast or the busyness of the day. In those dreams, people often meet each other more honestly than they can in waking life. Fear is quieter there. Defenses are lower. The heart says what the ego interrupts during the day. That is why certain dreams can feel like contact rather than fantasy. And it is not only dreams. Sometimes you wake up with their name already in your chest. Sometimes you open your eyes in the middle of the night and they are the first thought in your mind. Sometimes you feel them strongly on a day that later proves important. These are the kinds of experiences that make people question whether love can move beyond physical distance, and for many the answer becomes impossible to ignore. When the bond is real, it keeps breathing in ways that do not rely only on text messages and visible effort. It shows up through feeling, through memory, through timing, through the strange way your inner world seems to touch theirs. If you have ever felt that kind of quiet contact, then you already know why it is so hard to call this connection ordinary. Something about it keeps refusing to fit into simple explanations. Still, the most important part of this journey is not only understanding their feelings, it is learning how to hold your own. Because even if the love is real, fear can still distort everything if you let it take control. Fear makes you reach too fast. Fear makes you chase answers that should unfold naturally. Fear makes you think that if you just say the right thing, check one more time, explain one more feeling, then the whole connection will become secure. But love grows in a very different atmosphere. It grows in truth, in calm, in self-respect. In the willingness to let what is real reveal itself without forcing it every hour. If you feel like you have been in a cycle of overthinking, this is your reminder to breathe. Real love does not ask you to abandon yourself to prove devotion. It asks you to become more rooted, more aware, more honest with your needs and your worth. That is why this connection may be teaching you something bigger than romance. It may be teaching you how to stop begging for crumbs, how to stop using panic as proof of passion, how to trust what is true without collapsing into fear when the path gets quiet. That lesson matters, because the love you want cannot be built on constant emotional emergency. It has to be built on something steadier, and sometimes the silence between two people is not there to punish them. Sometimes it is there to grow them into the kind of people who can finally hold what they are asking for. This is where the pattern between running and chasing often begins to change. When one person feels overwhelmed, they pull back. When the other feels that distance, they panic and move closer. Then the first feels pressured and steps away again. The cycle continues until both people are exhausted and the bond feels heavier than it should. But the cycle does not break because one person chases harder. It breaks when one person chooses peace over panic. It breaks when you stop trying to force clarity through fear. It breaks when you turn back toward your own life, your own healing, your own center, and allow space to do what pressure never could. This does not mean giving up on love. It means releasing the desperate energy that keeps love from breathing. When you become steady, the entire connection changes. The pressure drops. The emotional noise softens. The other person can feel the difference, even if they never say it out loud. People often return more honestly when they no longer feel chased by your fear. They move closer when your energy stops demanding and starts resting in its own value. This is one of the hardest lessons, but it is also one of the strongest. The connection becomes healthier when you remember that you are not here to convince anyone to love you. You are here to meet love from a place of self-trust. And if this bond is truly guided towards something meaningful, that shift inside you will matter more than any speech you could make. There is also healing happening on both sides, even if you cannot see all of it yet. You are not the only one being changed by this. If their feelings are real, then they too are being pushed to face parts of themselves they may have avoided for years. They may be confronting fears they never named. They may be seeing how quickly they retreat when something begins to matter too much. They may be learning that control cannot protect them from everything, especially not from love that reaches beneath the surface. In that sense, the distance has a purpose. Not to create suffering for the sake of it, but to clear what is false. To remove illusion, to expose patterns, to show each of you what still needs healing before a deeper union can stand on solid ground. This is why the pause between you can feel painful and sacred at the same time. Fire is intense, but it also refines. Space can hurt, but it can also reveal. And if you use this season wisely, it will not only bring you closer to them, it will bring you closer to yourself. That matters because the version of you who is meant to receive lasting love is not the version built out of fear and shortage. It is the version becoming whole, the version learning how to trust without collapsing, the version learning how to stay open without losing self-respect. That is the person this journey is shaping, and that shaping is part of the gift, even when it feels uncomfortable. So what is the undeniable sign that this person's love is real? It is not only one action, it is the pattern. The way the connection keeps living even in silence. The way their energy changes around you. The way your soul keeps recognizing something true after the panic passes. The way life keeps echoing the bond back to you through small but meaningful reminders. The way they seem affected, softened, unsettled, or quietly drawn in ways they cannot fully hide. The way distance has not erased the feeling, but has only made the lesson deeper. Real love leaves traces. It leaves movement in the spirit. It leaves pressure in the heart. It leaves signs in the spaces where words are missing. And if you have seen those traces again and again, then you already have more confirmation than fear wants to admit. But now comes the part that changes everything. You must stop asking the connection to prove itself through chaos. Let it prove itself through consistency, through growth, through the calm that remains when drama is removed. Watch till the end of this journey, not just the end of this moment. Because what is genuine does not need to scream every day to be real. Sometimes the truest love is the one quietly becoming stronger while both people are being prepared to meet it fully. Now your task is simple, even if it is not easy. Trust what is true without feeding what is fearful. Stop naming every delay as rejection. Stop calling every meaningful sign an illusion. Stop assuming that silence always means the heart has gone cold. Sometimes silence means feelings are being processed. Sometimes it means healing is happening in the dark. Sometimes it means life is creating the exact room needed for two people to grow into what they could not hold before. And while that unfolds, your job is not to shrink, chase, or break yourself trying to force an answer. Your job is to stand in your own light, to let your heart stay open without letting fear run the story, to remember that love feels strongest when it meets a person who knows their own value. If this message found you at the right time, hold on to this final truth. What is meant for you does not ask you to destroy your peace in order to receive it. What is real can survive truth, distance, growth, and time. And if this person truly loves you, that love will not disappear just because you stop panicking. It will either rise into clearer form or reveal its limits honestly. Either way, you win because you return to yourself. And maybe that is the deepest confirmation of all. The connection that is real does not only pull you toward another person, it pulls you back home to who you were always meant to become.